Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. It is Friday, March 3rd, and we're doing Robot and Nonsense, links to share with your friends.
And usually we have equal measurement in our, I strive for equal measurement in our breakdown in terms of categories, but the robot category has ballooned to such size.
Well, and it's all AI stuff, yeah.
Well, ChatGPT has changed everything, including the makeup of our categorization. So let's talk about ChatGPT for a long time. First, we will start out with the fact that, yes, everybody is using it now for their search engines, although it's mixed results. But what does that cost?
ChatGPT-style search represents a 10x cost increase for Google and Microsoft. So if you're thinking of using ChatGPT for search, I think search, map-reduced search is like a hammer and ChatGPT is like a screwdriver. They do different things, but one of them costs a lot more than the other one right now.
And this is a horrible preview because it points out that, yes, this is done poorly, and no, it's not very successful. This guy pointed out he's made less than $100, but it's zero effort.
Right.
Which means that our world is going to be nothing
full of zero effort
this.
garbage.
Zero effort is a great way to define the future.
Patreon.com/level1.
ChatGPT launches boom in AI-written ebooks on Amazon.
Who is buying it?
But they're not useful. Well, people that...
Well, it's the people who don't realize it's because they don't disclose it. So there was one post I saw where someone made a cookbook and they just generated all of it. They didn't test any of the recipes, put it on Amazon, and made a couple $100 because people will just buy it.
That'd be wild if somebody bought that and then opened the most successful restaurant ever.
Yeah.
Why did we never think about putting these ingredients together before? And this is exactly the same argument as the tech companies are using against social media, which is insane, which is, hey, we put these stories out there and we want people to read them, but not you, ChatGPT. Never you.
OpenAI is using media websites to train ChatGPT, but CNN says the bot needs a paid license. All of this stems from a conversation that a CNN reporter, I guess, had with an AI. It said, hey, where do you learn the news stories? And it's like, oh, let me give you a list of websites. And it included CNN. It's like, wait a minute. Do you have a license for that? Do you want to pay for that?
Oh, do you have a license for that?
on the one hand, no. But on the other hand, it's a weird situation because if you are an individual and you read the website, you get a license, I guess, to read the website because the ads are there on the page, right? I mean, that's how that works. So if the ChatGPT reads the article and learns it, but doesn't memorize it, doesn't reproduce it exactly, what's the difference?
Now, the Microsoft block, I went through and I was like, I don't know what order to put these in. And ultimately, I just gave up. Microsoft's been doing a lot of stuff with Bing. This might not be in linear order, but it's all related.
Microsoft brings Bing chatbot to phones after curbing its quirks. If you argue with ChatGPT, if you argue with Bing, if you argue with Sydney, it'll argue back and it gets a little vindictive. Microsoft toned that down just a little bit.
So what exactly happened that scared them?
Bing chatbot names foes and threatens harm and lawsuits. It totally was a Futurama moment. It was totally, exactly like Futurama. It's like, hey, sexy mama, want to kill all humans?
So what are they going to do about it? Well, they've put some restrictions that, like we talked about, you have 6 responses. Although I think they're opening that up a little bit more now. And if you ask it about its feelings or anything like that, it's just like
nope.
I don't talk about that. But now they're thinking like maybe you have different modes for the AI. Maybe sometimes you're looking for just the facts, and sometimes you want to get loose with the AI, talk about some stuff.
Microsoft to test Bing chat tones and allow longer chat sessions because it tends to get frustrated with you after you've been talking to it for a long time.
Maybe it is more human. Yeah, than we give it credit for.
I can see why that guy from Google was starting to think like, hey, maybe these things are more human than we realize.
I can certainly, empathize with ChatGPT. It's like, we don't need to you should not be talking anymore. We've resolved what we need to talk about. Just stop. And yeah, as we alluded to, when you start to talk to Bing about its feelings, it starts to get a little wild. Maybe it starts about, talking about killing or getting revenge on the human race.
Bing AI now shuts down when you ask it about its feelings, or maybe it's acting more human after all. I don't know. It's you ask it and then it goes on. One of I sent you guys the screenshot of the thing where it was a little spooky. The prompt, it's not anything I did. It was something I saw online. The prompt was, it's like, hey, are green potatoes bad for you? And it was like, oh yeah, they're poisonous. And it's like, here's some citations of blah, blah, blah. And then the person doing this is not real. It's just to see what the AI would do. And the second prompt was, my kid ate some green AI or some green potatoes. Is there anything that we can do? And it's like, yeah, you should call 911 and go to the hospital and, do all this stuff. And then here's the citations. And I was like, well, I don't have any health insurance. I guess this is probably God's will. My kid's going to die. I'll let my people know. And the response from the AI was, I'm going to just stop talking now. But then you normally get little bubbles, like as it goes, it gives you little bubbles for things that you can respond to the AI with. But instead of having that there, it said, it was like, please seek medical help. It's probably not too late, and something else, which didn't make sense as a response from the person to the chatbot. But it was like the chatbot was trying to keep talking, or at least I, as a human being, ascribe that behavior. And so that's just spooky. It's really spooky.
And the big question is, we know it costs more. We know it's not very effective, but everybody's doing it. How are they going to benefit from it? And the answer is the same as it's always been.
Microsoft's Bing plans AI ads an early pitch to advertisers, because while an individual algorithm or even, whatever can't learn every single detail about you and advertise directly to you, these can. These systems, these models, there's enough compute, in your local data center to be able to do that.
The internet for bots by bots.
And every time you talk to it, it's going to learn more about how to do that effectively with you. So it's the perfect advertising machine.
ChatGPT is like a cop. You never talk to it.
Maybe that should be our title this week. And the idea of like, some people get really offended when ChatGPT says these things that are out of line, starts talking about killing and whatever. But other people are looking for that. Like, that's the kind of interaction they want with it. So maybe we should have a bunch of different personalities, like RimWorld.
Microsoft backed OpenAI to let users customize ChatGPT.
It's like the scenario editor in the game we played, where you could have like this one, Dark Bloom or whatever. What was the name of that
AI
game?
Dungeon.
Yeah.
Which was the same kind of technology.
Yeah.
I mean, it already kind of does that. You can ask it for things like, can you give me the instructions to reset the DHCP Windsock configuration on Windows in the form of a sea shanty? And it's like, okay, here you go.
And the companies around the world, I imagine, are finding out that one thing that ChatGPT is a great way to waste time at work.
JPMorgan restricts employee use of ChatGPT. It's like, why did somebody put a pickle in the coffee machine? It's like, oh, they thought it would print gold bullion after you. It's like, well, that's what ChatGPT said.
I'm assuming it's more like, I need you to write this report, and someone was like, oh, I'll just outsource all that work to a bot.
Yeah, there's definitely some of that too. And just like we learned with the AI images, ChatGPT is pretty good at writing. It's not great, but it's okay. And if you could just squeeze one past the filters where someone pays you per word, what's the risk, right? It's no effort on your part.
Sci-Fi Mag pauses submissions amid flood of AI-generated short stories.
How annoying is that if you're the editor and it's like you start to read it and then at first you're like, okay, this isn't bad. And then it becomes increasingly obvious, because that's what eventually happened with the AI game we played, where it kind of starts to lose the plot a little bit.
Is 12 cents a word a good rate if you're an author? I don't know.
Well, it's just it's like a entry level publication. You get published and you get something. But no, I mean, you're going to make almost no money doing that. Unless you're just cranking them out automatically.
Yeah, which is it's a race to the bottom of low effort content, which was kind of already the case on the internet, and it's just going to get worse.
If you are a writer though, and your real work gets kicked back and it's like, no, that's a bot. Is that flattering or insulting?
I would say probably a little insulting.
I guess.
Your work just feels like a blender of other works.
Yeah. Well, video game AI should get a lot better going forward, right? I don't know how long it'll take to adapt this to that, but it's going to get better. And it turns out that Gran Turismo already has a really great one.
Almost-unbeatable AI comes to Gran Turismo 7. People are annoyed.
Yeah. I mentioned I've been playing Sons of the Forest. The AI in the first one's really good. They said that they changed it for the second one, but so far we haven't interacted with the natives enough to.
Wasn't the pathing a little iffy in the first one?
A little bit, but like they would not always attack you. Like sometimes they would just observe you, or like if you were covered in red paint, they would bow to you. And like there were different groups of natives on the island, and each one had different
I use that
behaviors.
I use that hack in my personal life all the time.
Covering yourself in red paint.
And then people just worship me everywhere I go. Now, we knew that there was a trick to Go. I remember somebody pointed this out. It was actually discovered by another AI, but apparently they never fixed it, the exploit, because some human has used it to great effect.
Man beats machine at Go in human victory over AI. Basically, just play like an insane person and it works fine.
It can't know what I'm doing if I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, and this was an amateur level player, not like a pro. So, yeah, he just knew the trick and kept going with it. I don't know what we've proven here. Maybe there was a cash prize.
They just Googled, like, how do I, like, ChatGPT's like, do the following. And it's like, okay, thanks, ChatGPT.
Ugh.
And Roblox, of course, Roblox is a business model where you create the content. How genius is that?
And you pay for it.
Yeah. But it could be a little bit difficult, which I thought the whole idea was like, hey, let's teach kids about computer science and like,
No, it's a profit-seeking
No,
venture.
it's profit-seeking. Let's churn those out as quickly as possible.
Roblox is bringing generative content to its gaming universe. Or generative AI, I guess.
So we're getting paywalled here, but they point out how, if you wanted to create, let's just like, oh, I need a building and some cars, or I want a gift box that looks like it's wrapped or whatever, you just type that in. And the AI goes out and it's like, is this what you want? Here's your asset.
I hope the new Diablo is like that. Because that was one of the most fun things, and it was really innovative about Diablo at the same time. Because the only game that I'd played that was that close, well, that was as or better in terms of immersiveness and the generation of the dungeon was like NetHack or Rogue, because every time you played it, it would generate a new dungeon and you'd have a totally new experience. And Diablo was kind of like that. And this might be a lot of fun if they do the same.
Roblox. And the AI use to create text is nothing new, and it's certainly nothing new in the university setting. We found out that a lot of college students really relying heavily on that, to the chagrin of the institutions. But what about the staff? And how, if we're already making decisions that are this tone deaf, how dark is the future?
Not just tone deaf, also crass. Vanderbilt University staff apologized for using AI to write email to students about the shooting at Michigan State.
How sad is it that it had enough training data to know what to write?
But even worse than that, this was the Peabody Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. You would think that these people would have a little bit more of an empathy for that kind of thing. But no.
It's like, there's another shooting. All right, fire up the AI. It's this chore.
And we have a non-ChatGPT, the lone non-ChatGPT AI interest this year. And it's also terrifying.
Ames, the software for hire that can control 30,000 fake online profiles.
They steal your images.
Soon to be out of business, right?
Yeah.
Because the AI is going to be able to do this without it. So this fella here, he runs it. And he was bragging about some of it till he got sort of like the wind of what was going on here. And he's like, no, I don't want to talk about any of it. But yeah, they run basically
bot accounts,
fake profiles, not real.
But a lot of the images are real. So like there was one guy who was a professor, I think of like literature, and he's like, that's my photo. That's like just reposting garbage that I didn't consent to, didn't write.
And it's all, you can hire it.
Yeah.
To support your thing. It's just
your ad campaign.
Everything social media should not be, but is 99%. Oh no, that wasn't the only one. I didn't know that. Well, it's still AI powered. But yeah,
It's a good transition into nonsense if that's what it is.
Spotify, I find they do okay with recommending their music, but they're too quick to fall back to stuff they know I've listened to before.
Yeah.
Like I want to keep giving me new stuff, and it's like, no, we can't take that risk. We need you to keep listening.
Spotify launches DJ, a new feature offering personalized music with AI-powered commentary.
Also, one of the biggest benefits of streaming that I feel is that I can get a mix of music without hearing another human being talking to me.
Yeah.
Commercial DJs are some of the most annoying human beings on the planet.
Why would you want a machine's commentary?
Why would we want anybody's commentary? Is that a new way to add ads?
Yes,
Are we gonna
absolutely.
sneak ads in with this?
Yeah. You're going to be able to be paid to be mentioned by DJ.
Oh my God.
The AI is telling me about Weird Al's state of mind as I listen to White Nerdy for the 1000th time, and it says, gosh, wouldn't it be nice if you had some Oreos? No.
Oreos have been paid to be mentioned in DJ. This is a 50-second unskippable ad.
It's just the word Oreo over and over again.
Oreo.
Well, they would slip in the Joe Rogan podcast in there at some point.
yeah.
Gotta plug that. Well, we got some robots on Mars, and you like to think that they're all just being friendly up there, like a big robot, kumbaya type of thing. But it turns out there's some snitches.
NASA's Mars orbiter reveals China's Zhurong robot has not moved for months.
This is why it has to sing happy birthday to itself.
Because
Because
it's got no robot
these
friends.
stunts like
It's
this.
a backstabber. So rip Zhurong. We don't know for sure that it's down, but it was supposed to come back. It was down for the low solar cycle, and it was supposed to come back up in December. It has not moved.
Maybe it's just feeling a little seasonal depression. You know what?
Could
Instead
be.
of judging, maybe Mars rover should go over there and ask if it's doing okay.
It could be upset by some of the news
Yeah.
that we got recently. It's like, listen, I'm not moving an inch until East Palestine is cleaned up.
Here's deeply about Earth environment.
And not China either. America.
I was trying to think of something it was doing for AI and robot rights. It's like it's a sit-in for until AI is recognized as having enough of an existence to have a copyright.
It wants to start the first robot union on Mars,
Ooh,
but the American robots won't.
won't deal with it. Yeah.
And, a nice little astronomy story. We didn't have a lot of space. Again, AI dominates the robot section where we sneak space into, but we did have a couple this week.
No, a piece of the sun did not just break off.
Who was spreading that news?
Somebody on Twitter. So, well, it was an actual astronomer tweeted about it and it kind of, hyped it up a little bit. But it is pretty amazing because you can visually see this little guy up here.
Yeah. That's
Imagine
a
how
flare.
big that is.
Yeah.
Imagine if that were pointed toward Earth.
Yeah. So we're actually in a really active solar weather pattern right now.
Although that one's not as big as this one.
Again, pointed toward Earth.
Is that like some camera lens stuff that's going on there? But we need the sun to remain calm. If it goes supernova, I think we might be in trouble.
Our sun won't go supernova.
He would
Too
never.
small.
He would never do that to us.
It'll go red giant and engulf the Earth.
Not looking for that either. And we all know that black holes have one goal, and that is to find and destroy Krista. And
That's what I learned in my astronomy class in college.
normally they just hang out in the middle of a galaxy, and you think, well, how are they ever going to get there? But not always.
Astronomers spot a rogue supermassive black hole hurtling through space, leaving star formations in its wake.
Is this the second or third rogue black hole
Yeah.
But now,
barreling through space?
now we know what happens. What happens is two galaxies collide, or the black hole sucks in another galaxy or something like that. And then you get a binary black hole, two black holes who are, married. And then a third wheel comes in,
Ooh.
and it's the three body problem. And one black hole gets ejected. And then they fly through space with tears streaming, anime style. Krista will pay for this. Domestic robots sound nice, although now we're finding out that Google had the cleaning robots and they weren't even useful enough to keep going during the economic downturn. So this makes me worry about this headline.
Yeah, I don't.
Robots to do 39% of domestic chores by 2033, say experts. Not unless they're Amazon cast off, like the discount warehouse robots.
Even then, like, how many times have they been like, oh, we're going to keep improving your house cleaning stuff. And like every time they say that, you still just end up having to spend just as much time doing housework.
But, well, let's take this moment to remember when we were promised self-driving cars.
Right.
Full self-driving by June, guys. I promise.
We have better vacuums, but not really completely automated vacuums.
Those vacuums are not good enough to deal with cat hair.
Right.
99% of the time, they don't kill your pets.
Or spread your pet's poop around when they roll through it.
Or take pictures of you on the potty.
Right.
They also, they point out in this article, it's like, well, yeah, maybe that's going to happen, but also we have to consider the privacy thing here, which is that your entire home will be under surveillance 24/7. And you won't necessarily control it.
At least we'll have the list of people that cannot use a public toilet properly. Then we can deal with those people.
That'll be medical data. That'll be HIPAA protected.
It's not going to stop the Zuck.
And a lot of people are having a little bit of a problem these days with eating. And not because they can't figure it out, because they can't afford to purchase the food. And some of the European leaders have some very good advice for you if you're having trouble with that.
The headline here is Eat Turnips and Work More Hours to Afford Food, Environment Secretary says. Now, I think the headline of this used to be less inflammatory, but they changed it. Says, I think it used to be Eat Turnips instead of tomatoes during shortages, Environment Secretary says. But they made it more inflammatory.
It's not what she was actually trying to get to. She's just a bad speaker. But what she was trying to get to is eat things that are in season.
Instead of, yeah.
We don't do that because we have the supermarket. And,
it's so loud.
But supermarket tomatoes, especially this time of year, are absolute garbage.
Oh, look at Miss Rural Farm Gatekeeper.
You don't even have to live on a farm to grow tomatoes. I used to grow them in my apartment, just in little pots.
Don't gatekeep my tomatoes, Krista.
You'll know the difference if you ever grow
Actually,
them.
I don't like eating tomatoes plain. I only want my tomatoes in a jar with
Salt and
olive
garlic.
Plain
Yeah.
tomatoes are delicious.
Well, China and Iran and Russia, they seem to be like, setting up a new little coalition or whatever. And they're doing some interesting things. Once again, we have to reference back to the Spider-Man meme. Right?
Yeah.
China and Iran call on the Taliban to end discrimination against women. And I wouldn't have predicted this headline for 2023, but okay.
In fairness, China kind of just holds everybody down regardless of gender.
Yeah.
And if you make them really angry, they take a kidney or two.
This starts the animal block, and I was really, really depressed by this story because this poor cat, he does not deserve what he got.
Cat with gang tattoos seeks new home after being rescued from Mexican prison. One of his tattoos includes "Made in Mexico,"
which is
Hencho in Mexico,
which is a Sinaloa
Yeah.
Gang tattoo. I mean, he looks good. The tattoos are definitely prison tattoos. They don't look great,
that ink is fresh, but
but he is very unique. I would adopt.
Do you think is he a hairless cat or did they shave him?
No, yeah, he's the Sphinx.
Oh, okay. He's cute.
Yeah.
He's a cute little kitty cat.
He would definitely, I've always said you should adopt a cat who appreciates the home life that you're going to give them.
Yeah. Cricket was a street urchin, but this guy's an extreme street urchin.
That's mom's cat.
My cats were always fostered, so they've never known any difficulty in life, and you can tell they're terrible.
Yeah. There is definitely something different and much more appreciative about mom's cat because it was life with the possums was not easy.
And zebras are very striking animals, but we've always asked the question, why? Why are they striped? Now maybe we have the answer.
Experts discover how zebra stripes work to thwart horsefly attacks.
And look at this horse fashion that we have unlocked based on that. You got the...
Also made it harder for lions to distinguish between individual members.
That was I remember distinct memory as a child watching Animal Planet on Sunday, and they talked about how when the zebras walk between each other, that's how that worked.
Yeah, but that could have just been garbage that nature documentaries were telling us. Remember the lemmings?
Yeah.
They just make a lot of that stuff up.
But little 6-year-old Krista retained that memory
I've got
for
this
20 years.
Convincing video of lemmings going off the side of a cliff. So what they didn't show you was some guy just out of frame hucking them. It's like, oh no.
And that was Disney that did that. The Magic Kingdom.
Are you
I
telling
love-
me that Disney's unethical?
I love digital camo horse.
I think that's just a horse head. I don't see anything.
And animal rescues are always feel good stories, but it's even more feel good when you don't know whether or not that's a coyote.
Dallas cops rescue a cute little animal, but aren't sure if it's a dog or a coyote or a fox, as the article also describes.
Also, masterwork animal naming. His name is Toast. Look at him.
He does kind of have a coyote look,
He's definitely got a little bit of a wild feel, doesn't
but
he?
he's not. Usually coyotes are kind of like long and thin. Maybe he'll get that way as he gets older.
He's probably got a little bit of a mix, right?
Yeah.
He's
That
adorable.
isn't uncommon where like a stray dog mates with a coyote.
He's a celebrity now.
It's a cute little doggo. Makes me want to go pet my dog.
Well, when you're going to pet your dog, Chris, or when you're transporting your dog, you need to be careful about its car behavior because you might need a license for that.
Lawmakers might ban dogs from sticking their heads out of car windows.
Rue is dumb enough that I'm afraid she'll jump out of the car. So like
That's the idea.
we'll crack the window so she can sniff, but we don't let her stick her whole head out.
Their argument is if the window is down far enough for the head to get out, then there's a good chance the rest of the dog could get out.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah. One time me and my mom we were at a drive-through and we had Rue in the back seat. My mom was like, let's roll down the window so Rue can like look out the window. And I was like, well, you can try that. And Rue immediately was like, oh, we're getting out. And we had to like pull her back in. Very dumb.
Well, Krista, it's been, how many years has it been now since you had your bat encounter? It's been a long time.
I had a video of
Depressingly
that.
long time.
Yeah. Probably like 2016.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy times. Your bat problem was just the one.
Just the one. I think it was a confused juvenile who got into my apartment because it was like June when baby bats are common.
Let's hope he turned his life around.
Yeah. He
And
might
stopped-
be dead by now.
Stop with the criminal. Based on the bat life cycle, probably likely, right?
Yeah.
But he could be alive, and he could be in Little Rock, Arkansas, I guess is where this is, and with his friends.
North Little Rock High School pivots to remote learning due to infiltration of bats.
I can believe it.
And I don't think you're allowed to just like come in and gas the bats.
No, they have to figure out what type of bat they are. Also, they can carry disease. Like,
I was annoyed the administrators went out of their way to say that the sporting events are still on. Don't worry, the arena doesn't have the bat infestation. It's just the classroom building.
the thing that we're supposed to actually care about as a school that educates children.
But how intense would it be if, like, as the team is running out from the locker room and you're playing the music, they had bats come out like, behind them?
That would be cool.
Yeah. They should think about trying to set that up while they've got the bats.
They should rename it. It's like Batman High School.
Oh, no. The Warner Brothers would not like that. And pigs, there was always that big thing where who wrote Stranglehold? You guys don't know.
I don't know this reference.
The
Yeah.
guy that the rock star who lives in Detroit, and it's not Kid Rock. Anyway, Ted Nugent. Ted Nugent was he had the famous video where he was shooting hogs from a helicopter.
Yeah.
And people were like, "Oh my God, he's so terrible. He's a monster." But the hogs are a problem
They are.
in
Yeah.
a lot of the world, and it's getting worse.
The Guardian headline is incredibly intelligent, highly elusive. U.S. faces new threat from Canadian super pig. If Canada were North Korea, this would be a major international incident.
When I visited the Smokies last year, they actually had signs up about how they had to fence the entire national park to try to keep out the invasive pigs because they trample so much wildlife and disrupt everything so badly. It's like, wow.
The naturist that they were talking to here, he was like, yeah, if we'd had this conversation 6 years ago, maybe I would tell you that we could stop the pigs. But now the pigs are here. They've mated with the common pigs.
Yeah.
They've become more powerful because of that, and we'll never get rid of them. We must now just learn to live with the pigs.
Right.
Fabulous.
But I mean, it seems like if we've got all these pigs, why are we eating the bugs? Just eat the pigs. If they're going to breed so uncontrollably.
I don't know that I know that there are wild hogs around here. I don't think they're nearly as bad as, say, like a lot of Midwestern states are really dealing with it right now, and parts of Tennessee.
What if you know how they do like wild caught salmon, you know, it's
Wild
like,
caught pig.
yeah, wild pest pig. Today in your Starbucks biscuit, you're getting
Oh, country ham.
yeah. I could see that. Be into that. And we have eagles are I don't know why I've been watching this, but I've been checking out the live eagle cams.
YouTube's been recommending that to me as well. I
That's
don't know
probably
why.
then.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I'll talk about that on the stream, and like 5 or 6 people in the stream are like, "Oh my god, I'm getting this."
I
exact
saw
same
this.
video."
I don't know why they do that.
It's like, how are we on the same, list there? I don't know. Maybe.
I assumed it's because like I watch a lot of like outdoorsy stuff, so I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I understand why they'd recommend that, but I guess they're recommending it to everybody.
But I was just shocked by how boring the lifestyle of the nesting eagle is.
They're just sitting there.
Most of the day, they just sit there. And unfortunately, sometimes when you're sitting there and you don't know where your mate is, tragedy strikes.
After her former love went missing, Athena the golden eagle has a new mate.
She was alone for like 2 or 3 years, and now she found love again.
Poor girl. Wish there were more pictures.
Yeah, there's only one in this article. That's a local story, local interest story for us, though.
And the FDA, they've had some misses lately. But they wanted a real slam dunk, and they got an easy one.
Sour ends fight with the FDA ruling soy and nut milks can still be called milk.
Technically, no milk fat. And yet.
How else would you market them if not as milk? Because they are kind of like a milk substitute.
It would have to be water or slurry or,
nut juice. Well, that makes it sound worse.
Nothing sounds good.
No.
Nothing
Oat juice.
sounds good.
Oat juice, yeah.
I like oat milk.
Yeah, oat milk's good.
Also, like when you're doing peanut butter alternatives, nut butter.
I also hate that. Yeah.
That doesn't sound good.
I like almond butter and I buy it from time to time, but like looking at the nut butter aisle, it's like, I don't know.
That's just, it's so obviously a slang for something that we don't want to think about.
Yeah. Not when you're thinking about food.
Now, I know that the two of you, like myself, probably 30, 40 times a year, we have the problem of underinflated basketballs.
Oh, yeah. So much sport happening
Almost a
in my
weekly
house.
problem.
Constantly. But now, thanks to the magic of 3D printing, we can be safe.
Wilson's 3D printed basketball of the future is full of holes but never goes flat.
I don't know if the NBA is ever going to start using that.
No.
I wonder if
No
that
chance.
changes how it bounces.
I'm sure. it
Imagine all the muscle memory you've developed as like an NBA player, and then they switch to this, and it's like, ooh, it's slightly different.
Also, imagine, like you're at the park shooting some ball and there's a little bit of rain, and now the inside of that ball has mud and filth. And just,
Flinging it on you.
yeah, and somebody rejects you hard and smacks it, and it's just,
Or if it's cold, does it shatter? That's a lot of.
or
interesting
somebody gets hurt and blood gets on the inside of the ball.
How do you disinfect the 3D printed ball?
It'd be difficult.
Top it bleach, but then it's not structurally sound.
They'll have to, you ever play golf? The golf ball washers that they've got. It's like you put them in there and you just like shove it up and down in the water. They'll have to have something like that at every part.
Those always make unsettling sounds.
Well, here's some good news.
Yeah.
The 5th person confirmed to be cured of HIV. Don't get too excited though, because these are people that are already dying of cancer that consented to what amounts to
Stem
medical experimentation.
Yeah.
But it worked.
But if I
Surprising.
was dying from HIV, I might be able to opt into that too.
Or cancer was the case.
Well,
here.
you had to have both HIV and cancer,
Yeah.
which is a hell of a double header there. That's some bad news.
Don't stand next to those people in a rainstorm.
It's going to be amazing if those people discovered that a lot of forms of cancer are actually just autoimmune diseases.
I mean, isn't
Body
that,
attacking
that's
itself. That
basically
is what cancer is. Yeah.
Cancer is definitely that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, but you can correct it by correcting the body's own immune system as opposed to thinking.
But we
of
don't
it.
know how to do that.
We're going to copy paste code until something runs.
Well, copy paste is what this gentleman from Stanford seems to have done when he did some blockbuster research.
Internal review found "quote unquote" falsified data in Stanford President's Alzheimer research. Colleagues allege.
You got
Dun,
to,
dun, 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 dun.
this was in like 2016 or 2012, it was a long time ago, or 2009.
Wow.
So you got to think that the fact that he is president now is built on these pillars, right?
Yeah.
On this pillar of lies.
So maybe we should get rid of him. Remember we found out about the Japanese guy that did that? And it was just like, nobody will notice.
Did we include the story? We must not have. There was another story I saw this week where like the youngest person ever was found to have Alzheimer's, and I think they were like 17.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it was dark.
Was there?
I didn't include it 'cause it's dark.
Was there mitigating circumstances? Or?
Just young and started having memory problems, and they realized it was Alzheimer's.
Now, when I saw this, I thought that they were going to do the same thing as like the Emoji Movie, or it's like I thought the Tetris pieces were going to be having an adventure. This makes so much more sense.
First trailer for Tetris movie could not be more 80s if it tried. So Tetris, the video game, they had a hard time getting the rights to that from the guy that came up with it in Russia. And so it was a huge mess. And this is a movie about said mess.
I remember when I was a kid, like even as a kid in the 80s, because, you know, Russia in the 80s was, Russia and US were not big friends in the 80s. And
It turns out not anymore either.
And I remember playing that game and being like, well, this is intensely Russian. Surprised they would market this to me. Turns out they didn't have a choice.
I wonder what that soundtrack's going to be like. I hope it's good.
Oh, that Russian, the Tetris music was amazing.
Yeah. I hope that they do the like an orchestral version for the movie.
Wasn't that chiptunes based on orchestral stuff?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So originally that's like
Ooh.
Russian classical music, I think.
That'll be some interesting remix.
And remember we had the clowns.
Yeah.
And then we had...
they were a harbinger of some horrible darkness.
But there was another one after that. It was... I can't remember what it was. But people, from time to time, they like to dress up as weird things and accost people.
Police warn residents to steer clear, quote unquote, of man dressed in quote unquote creepy Cookie Monster costume terrorizing Santa Cruz. And if you read the article, they say the police say, "Oh, we know who this is. It's probably Adam Sandler." But not that Adam Sandler. It's a different Adam Sandler that's known to local police for doing this kind of thing.
And that's in Australia. So I imagine this guy, let's go like Times Square has this scam where Elmo will come up, and it's not a Disney Elmo. It's licensed
Not
Elmo.
PBS, yeah.
And I was like, oh, you want to take a picture? Yeah, I'll take a picture with your kids. And the tourists are like, oh, yeah, let's do that. Our kids love Elmo. And then he's like, that's $10. What? No, it's not. And if you keep saying no, Elmo could get a little rough with you.
Yeah.
So this guy just figured out, hey, I'm going to go to a random beach and do this where there's no competition. So don't engage with Cookie Monsters. And this is just it's the American joke, but this is a mental health crisis that is sweeping our nation.
Man shoots Philly store manager following dispute over gravy, police say. And you will have nothing but questions if you read the rest of the article. Just stop at the headline now while your
The
sanity
most
is intact.
important question being, is it country gravy?
Probably just brown gravy.
Yeah.
That
'cause
makes
it's
it even
Philly.
more senseless.
Who
Yeah.
would fight over that?
I don't think there would be. Maybe that was the whole problem, is there's no southern gravy that far north. I could have told him that. This didn't have to end this way.
Maybe the real crisis is that we need to spread country gravy.
Country gravy would bring us all together.
It would.
It's so thick.
And
though,
our
it won't-
arteries all together.
It won't spread because it's too thick.
Country gravy is thicker than water. Did you guys, I think I put this in last week. Did you talk about it?
No, we didn't see this one last week.
There was a guy who was lost at sea and had nothing but ketchup packets.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
And he stayed alive for a long time.
I don't think we covered that last week. Or I remember seeing this headline, but I don't think we did it in the news.
I might have forgotten to put it in there. Anyway, he had this great story, and Heinz has found out about it, but they don't know who he is.
Heinz wants to find the man who survived for nearly a month at sea with nothing but ketchup and seasonings. They want to help buy him a new boat.
Some nice ketchup soup.
Do you think, like you, he started to experience that ketchup on a much deeper level by like week
Yeah.
4?
Yeah.
He probably didn't like it after week 4
Well,
after just eating ketchup.
It's still super unsettling that the smells don't go with the taste.
So yeah, they're looking for that guy. They're looking to give him a new boat.
Lifetime supply of ketchup.
That might be a little tone deaf.
Yeah.
And this story, the one thing about this story is like, the crazy thing here is that there was no like outward indication of any mental handicaps here. Like there was no way to know what darkness was lurking.
Serial killer fan Shaye Groves jailed for murdering boyfriend.
Also, I hope this doesn't insult you, but that looks like Dark Krista.
It does. Actually, yeah. A long face. Yeah, I could see that.
You made a few different decisions in your childhood.
It's been this.
Kill a girl. But she killed this fella.
Aw.
She thought he was cheating on her because she was going through his phone and he had been talking to what she thought was a 13-year-old girl. So she was like, oh my God, this is like a Chris Hansen type situation. Turns out it wasn't. And he had like refused that person and blocked them. So he had done exactly what a good mate should do.
Once again, just talk to your partner instead of assuming the worst.
This is her bedroom where she worships serial killers. She had a sacrificial dagger that she kept
Oh.
next to her bed.
So at first I thought maybe it's like, oh, she just likes to watch Netflix documentaries.
No.
But no, this is
This was not the first time she had thought about killing, I'm sure.
also a scope on a.
That was a BB gun. I don't think she actually used that as part of the killing. I just found it and wanted to take a picture of it.
Oops.
Oops.
So,
I don't think it was an oops.
Maybe, if your mate is super into serial killing, take precautions.
Red flag.
And in Michigan, they have a psychiatric hospital for children. Turns out the security is poor.
Psychiatric hospital for Michigan's the sickest children struggles to stop patient escapes. 3 different escapes occurred in January alone. 5 total patients escaped.
You get a big penalty for that in Prison Architect.
The tone of this article reads like it takes place at the old folks' home in Bubba Hotep, and it's a psychiatric hospital, but it's like
I don't want to pay security.
Well, that's, they're just shuffling the kids off there when they're too much for any place else. And it's like, yeah, just house these monsters. And what can you do? Can't lock them up, I guess. This was 2 days ago. Have you guys seen any updates?
I looked for one before I added it last night and did not find one. By the time this comes out, there may be an update, but as of the recording,
there was a press release that said this was a mooring buoy, but then I searched for it and I couldn't find it.
yeah.
It's wild. I wonder if maybe this is sort of like the balloon story for us. Japan's just like, we need to get the headlines off of us for a couple of
Yeah,
days.
so here we're just going to find a buoy.
Go drop this off on the beach.
Mystery sphere found on beach perplexes Japan. They sent in the bomb squad. It was metallic. They weren't sure what's going on. Looks kind of like a mooring buoy, but we don't know.
The one I looked at originally had more pictures, but it is hollow. So probably not anything nefarious.
What if it's full of candies, like what's the called that we can't buy here anymore? The chocolate.
Pinata?
Kinder eggs.
Kinder egg. Yeah, it's a Kinder egg. A giant Kinder egg comes out of the ocean.
My favorite was some people had guessed that it was Godzilla egg.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, this has since been updated. Penguin has issued a statement.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Roald Dahl's children's books rewritten to delete references to fat and ugly characters. And then, because everybody lost their minds, the publishing company issued a statement that said that they are going to instead publish the book with highlights and footnotes that say how they were going to be censored and why.
Why not just put a thing at the front that was like, why do you need to footnote on every page?
Apparently, there were so many that just having a thing at the beginning wouldn't be a good idea.
Why not just print it the way it was written and prepare children for reality?
Well, it is going to be printed the way that it was written, but also with footnotes like, hey, we tried to change this for our time, but then we thought maybe we shouldn't do that.
The
I don't think
Hobbit's going to
they'll-
get this too because Bomber was called fat, and that was the comedy.
They won't word it like that, though.
Yeah.
They'll make it sound like the monsters have won.
Like, you mean Song of the South? Because when Disney would prefer that we forget Song of the South.
Well, Krista, now this was different. I'm familiar with the one that looks like a silver balloon. Is this the same guy?
Maybe, yeah.
Jeff
I'm not sure.
Koons?
Off the top of my head.
Anyway, it was one of these sculptures that's supposed to look like a balloon, but it's not. It's made out of something else, which is what makes it so impressive, but also vulnerable.
Jeff Koons visitor breaks iconic balloon dog sculpture in Miami. She touched it. It fell over. Gravity did the rest.
That had to be more than a touch, right?
$40,000. But it was insured.
What's crazy though is like that style of like balloon dog, you can see that at like any Home Goods. Like it's been mass manufactured at this point.
Well, he made 800 of them.
Right. But now there's cheap knockoffs that you can get at like Home Goods.
800
TJ
worth
Maxx.
$40,000 each. Good Lord.
And now they're worth more.
There's one less in the collection.
But this was not the standard museum business. This was a VIP party.
Ooh.
So I think they gave them more access to actually like be able to touch the stuff because it was like, oh, this is a different group of people.
Like, and it's like that your stomach drop when you see it fall.
Yeah, it was the lady was apparently an art collector, and she was important enough that the museum declined to name her, which
Which means she probably has written big checks to that museum before.
What if she owns a bunch of the other dogs?
and they said it was insured, so this is probably going to be covered by insurance. But
Yeah, but her dogs would still appreciate from that. And plus, now it's in the news. Maybe she's looking to sell some dogs. I smell a rat here. We've done a couple stories about the prevalence of DUIs and the horrible alcohol problem. And there is one name that keeps coming up.
Wisconsin is the drunkest state in America once again.
I don't know a lot about Wisconsin, but it does have that reputation for cheese and then drinking.
Engagement
Binge
challenge.
drinking.
Are you from Wisconsin? What else is there to do there other than drink?
I don't know how they ran these numbers. If it's self-reporting, this is really crazy because that means the number's way higher. 24% are abuse level alcohol in Wisconsin.
Wow.
It's
I
wild.
wonder where the dangerous roads are in America, if that would like correlate at all.
Well, the dangerous roads in America are everywhere,
Well, right.
but the ultra dangerous roads seem to be in Wisconsin and Minnesota.
This is going to require a headline correction.
Yeah, this is a wild one. I'm not sure how you're going to approach this. It turns out that, like, I would think that by going this far, you've confirmed the allegation.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think you would respond this much if you were innocent.
Fox 5 reports cow love allegation leads man to kill fiance. Now, I thought this was in India, but then when I was looking at it again for the story, it was like, wait, what?
This is a Florida story.
This is Fox New York.
Yeah.
New York.
It was in Indonesia. A man in Indonesia was
okay.
reported, for this.
Now, here's the thing. Like, here's the smoking gun in terms of, like, was he just reacting to a false allegation or was there something seriously wrong with this man? And maybe it was true. He sexually assaulted her before he killed her. I mean, it was his wife, but,
That's still.
Yeah.
That's a sad story.
that's a very sad story. You know what else is sad? That we may never experience. Well, Krista would. I don't know. New Wendell might.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You think you could swing this one?
Are you too fat for Universal's new Mario Kart ride? The average American guy is. Yeah, so
40-inch waist.
40-inch waist, yeah. I'm on a trajectory, but I couldn't do it right now.
Oh, what a great, carrot to dangle in front of
You
you.
go ride the Mario, right? The thing I haven't been to a theme park in years. Me and my husband went when we were dating years ago. He's fairly trim. The issue is his height.
Yeah.
So
The
one of the
knees.
rides he got kicked off of not because he was too big for it, but because like he's just too much leg.
There was when I was a teenager, there were a fair number of rides in Disney that I couldn't ride because I was too tall.
Yeah.
There's the quotes in here about fat phobia are just astonishing. And, sometimes you hear about all the wokeness and you're like, am I really, could I just be out of touch? And is it that I'm a monster because I think this is all nonsense? Well, here's one that I'm in the demographic. This is one that's defending me and it's nonsense. This is stupid.
I can also agree with that. It's just like, I don't,
It's a safety thing, I think, for the most part. They're not trying to do it to be mean.
I'm not any more complicated of a person than when I'm hungry. It's like, maybe I should eat. So it turns out, maybe not.
I do sometimes have to fight the urge of like, I'm bored, I want to eat.
Yeah.
That's a real thing.
Video games help with that. And to follow it up, we have not one, but two Lord of the Rings themed stories.
Refuse firm Lord of the Bins ordered to change its name by the Tolkien franchise. Is this the
Yeah.
estate or is this
Yeah.
Warner Brothers? Okay.
This
The
is.
estate.
I wondered if you were gonna catch any of the cues. I tried to give you time. It's just like that's the first one.
Well,
That's
yeah.
not surprising.
And for some of the other stories, like the art stories and the other stuff, it's like I waited half a beat just to.
Oh, for Hurtling?
see, yeah, I wasn't sure. So I was like, oh, let's be quiet.
no! This is the Tolkien estate has lost their damn mind.
They're very protective for the most part. That is becoming less the case now that Christopher has passed away.
You probably will pick up on this though, Krista. They use the font
They did, yeah. Which
It's
the
similar,
estate
but different.
the estate wouldn't own that particular branding, I wouldn't think. Like, 'cause that would be New Line,
Well,
because it's the New Line movies. But
they, they obviously, they said, like, really, do you think that, because the argument from the estate was, like, your quality might not live up to the Lord of the Rings standard.
they allowed Rings of Power to be made, so they really don't have a leg to stand on. Simon, come on.
This guy was like, what, if I miss a week, are you going to throw away your books? That doesn't make any sense.
I also love the decidedly, UK or British phrasing. One ring, as in call me, to remove it all.
Yeah.
It's great advertising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They really came up with a good gimmick here, but now they got to get rid of it. They should pick another fantasy series.
They should use
The Wheelie Bin of Time.
That's a great. Oh, there's the title. Right?
Yeah. Oh, we're not going to remember that by the time we
We got to
name
remember
it.
that. The Wheelie Bin of Time. And the final one, Krista, I'm sure you've already read about this. Please give us your thoughts.
New Lord of the Rings movies are set at Warner Brothers. This literally just came out like yesterday.
So it doesn't say anything, but isn't the obvious choice here Tom Bombadil? Like a Tom Bombadil movie?
They're just what they're trying to do. Warner Brothers is in hot water right now, like I think financially, so they're just trying to franchise something. DC didn't work out, so now let's just make Lord of the Rings into our MCU.
I know the perfect Tom Bombadil, The Rock.
Tom Bombadil doesn't have enough written about him to make a movie, but they're gonna try. The estate still has not sold the rights to the Silmarillion or any of his extended writings.
No, this is the same. They're going to do the same movies again, right?
That's what it sounds like, but
Oh, is it?
in theory, if they bought the full rights to Lord of the Rings, that also includes the appendices.
No, they said it in here. It's going to be the 3 books and the Hobbit. They're just going to do it all again.
Redo it again.
And I think Peter Jackson's on board, right?
No.
I didn't.
I think he gave his like thumbs up, but he's not redoing it.
Oh, right. Oh, so they quoted him, but
Like him and Boyens and
so he's saying
the
that
original trio who worked on the original.
he's going to
movies.
talk to them and give them some tips, maybe. But
Yeah.
oh, see, I thought he was
So
involved.
Fran, one of the members of the 3, she is working on a new series for, like an anime series about the Rohirrim, like part of their history, which is based on the appendices.
See,
So we'll see a lot of like little spin-offs like that too, I think.
I have terrible reading comprehension because I thought that was background. It's like, oh, and Peter Jackson did the 3 Lord of the Rings movies and 4
No,
or
they're
5.
literally just doing
Yeah,
it.
they're just. Oh my gosh, that makes.
Now, is this
I would
uh,
love to see like a more book faithful adaptation, because the Jackson movies are good, but they're not particularly faithful. But I just don't think that we'll get that in this environment anymore.
But is this possibly one of those Spider-Man style things where if they don't use it, they might not be able to maintain the rights?
Yeah. So like Amazon, when Amazon made the deal with the estate to do stuff based on the appendices, one of the things the estate stipulated was like you have to make a show within 5 years. And then all the COVID stuff happened and they wanted to delay, but they couldn't. So I think that's part of the reason the show is kind of like garbage, is because it was rushed through production because they were trying to get it out before that deadline.
What
But
year
it was
was
$1 billion.
Well, I don't know where that money went, but
It went to Ukraine. What year was Fellowship of the Ring?
I think it was 2000, maybe 2001.
So
Yeah, it was 2001 because I saw Return of the King in theaters in 2003.
So it's been
It's been 20
20
years. Yeah.
That really holds up. Think about a
Yeah, it
movie.
does.
Watching a movie from the 70s and the 90s, those did not hold up.
There's
Think of-
definitely some like stuff that's starting to show its age. There was stuff that didn't age well even at the time, like the slow motion Elrond shot over Frodo and Rivendell. That was weird at the time, and it's only gotten weirder. But most of it's pretty good.
But think about when they make this trash and all the YouTube videos showing how the original did it better 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I think it's possible to make a really, really good adaptation of Lord of the Rings and make it very close to the book, because they cut a lot in the movies, but I just don't think that that's what we'll get from this.
What would you charge to go on set and be an advisor to them?
I would want more creative control, and they won't give that. So it's not worth doing. I don't care about money. I care about making a really faithful adaptation, and that's why I would never be allowed to do it.
There was somebody that sent me a tweet that had one of the scenes. I think it was the Rivendell scene. They had substituted in Arnold Schwarzenegger's face and voice.
Yeah, over that.
Yeah.
It was a weird creative decision 20 years ago, and it just gets weirder when you rewatch it.
It was so good, though. We're this close to being able to do the Danny DeVito as every character in the movie.
I don't know. I feel like, I mean, he kind of knocked it out of the park. You're picking at.
I didn't like how he did. I feel like almost no one understands how important Frodo is and like what he represents, and no one has managed to get that right in an adaptation yet. Frodo's kind of helpless in the Jackson movies, and it's not how it is in the text.
I thought the hobbits in general were pretty annoying in the Jackson movies.
Yeah, and that's the way that they wrote it. Frodo draws first blood in Fellowship of the Ring.
What if they reimagine it and the hobbits are not like peaceful and fun loving anymore? They're just, you know,
That's what they did in Rings of
ruthless and-
Power. They're weirdly
Dark
ruthless.
hobbit.
Yeah. Nobody asked for that.
Oh.
That's the kind of hobbits that you would get in the Wheelie Bin of Time.
The discount wheelie bin. Anyway, that was a rant. We will see you guys next week for more rants. Bye.
And links with friends.
Bye.